When you play the Game of Thrones, you
Subscribe and like.
or you die. There is no middle ground.
Alright, hello YouTube, and welcome back to the Grease Comedy YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be a discussion. And in today's video, it's going to be kind of about, is Bowen Marsh wrong in the advice he's giving to Jon throughout the entirety of A Dance with Dragons? Because, in my opinion, when I read those chapters, it's very hard to be on Jon's side when you look at the context of what's going on at the wall. So that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. But before we get into the video, if you guys like to like, subscribe, and comment, please do. It helps the channel grow, reach our appeal that might like this content as well. And let's get into the video. So, my big thing here is Bowen Marsh is constantly telling Jon things like, we do not have the food to have these wildlings come across the wall and to live here. We just don't. We will literally starve ourselves. We won't have enough food for winter. We have nowhere to house these people. It's just we're putting way too much stock on all of these wildlings, because the thing how Bowen Marsh is taking this is the preservation of the wall and the Night's Watch is number one, okay? And Jon has a different approach to this. Jon believes that the best way to fight the White Walkers and the others is to have all these people available to fight them. Now, the problem with this is, as Jon even says, a lot of these people are sick, a lot of these people are not fighting men. Like, out of the, 4,000 that come across, there's maybe a good 1,000 to maybe 2,000 that can really fight at the moment. So the problem is, what's the point? When you really look at the grand scheme of it, what's the point? These wildlings are really not going to have any discipline when it comes to defending the wall, like Bowen Marsh suggests. So, for the greater good, I think Bowen Marsh has a pretty strong argument, because there's a lot of risks you're taking. The wildlings don't like the crows, right? Or the Night's Watch. The Night's Watch don't like the wildlings. If there is even one major, a disagreement or something, we could have an open war. And the Night's Watchmen, as we know, there's not a lot of numbers of them. The wildlings outnumber them even while they're sick and hungry. So the problem becomes, what do you do? Right? Because Bowen Marsh, in my opinion, is actually a pretty smart, guy. He's not dumb. Like, he understands where Jon's coming from, but Jon's logic does not check out. Jon very much gets lucky that the Iron Bank shows up, that they can even get, money to buy food. Because the problem even becomes when he does this is now the Night's Watch is deeply in debt to the Iron Bank. So, with all that being said, you're now completely in debt. We still don't know if we're going to be able to get all the food we need to even survive. It just puts the Night's Watch in such a bad position, and we get where Jon's coming from. Jon's saying, okay, well, we may not make it till the next summer anyway, so we might as well secure food while we can, and then we'll deal with the repercussions after. And that's a fine approach, but the other side of that is, well, the Night's Watch, if they don't pay back their debt, they're going to, die. They're going to probably sell swords to come kill the Night's Watchmen until they give, back their gold. So, with all that being said, you look at a lot of the decisions Jon makes, and we understand why Jon's making them, but for the Night's Watch as a whole, and for the greater good, his decisions are not the best. Because in reality, he should just kind of let the wildlings die. He's taking a huge risk. He ends up getting Night's Watchmen killed using Stannis' boats that end up getting destroyed at Hardhome. And all of that, you look at kind of what happens, and I don't really believe it was a good idea, right? And then my other big problem here is Stannis is one of the few people that have kind of helped you at the wall. You're going really against a lot of what Stannis would want, even though Stannis does want the wildlings to come, south of the wall. That's because Stannis wants them to join his army. That's not really because of the threat of the White Walkers. I think Stannis could really care less, because these people, again, in Stannis' eyes, are not the most smart people. There's definitely discrimination that goes against the wildlings, but Is he wrong, though, in a way? I mean, the Wildlings are very much, you know, for the most part, kind of civilized, kind of tribal type people. Besides people like the Thenns, they're, you know, described as being very advanced and very kind of smart. So my question really is, from Jon's point of view of making the Night's Watchmen really hate him, and what did he really accomplish in the end? In reality, he didn't actually accomplish much. If you look at what happens by the end, even if he comes back, he armed a couple castles that it's nice and all, but it's not going to make a difference, right? Because we just know that if the White Walkers are going to attack, having all of your forces spread out across the wall is going to make it a lot easier for the White Walkers to pick them off, in my opinion. I get what he's trying to say. He wants more eyes on the wall to see if an attack is coming and all of those things, and for spotting out the White Walkers getting close to the wall or something like that. But the problem is you're already short-handed at so many other castles that it's not going to matter anyway, in my opinion. So I don't think that really was worth it. Jon eventually does exactly what Stannis was going to do and ends up taking he's going to end up taking the Wildlings south. So in the end, really all Jon does is he gets himself an army. So for very personal reasons, it feels like that Jon ends up getting this. It only really affects Jon right now, right? The Wildlings, for the most part, is nothing. It doesn't help the Night's Watch at all. It makes it much harder on the Night's Watch as a whole. And that's kind of my point of this video, is that Jon makes decisions for the right reasons, for saving innocent lives and trying to prevent the army of the Whites getting bigger. But at this point, we know the army of the White Walkers and the others is probably going to be bigger than all of the North can muster at this point, and even maybe more of the Seven Kingdoms. So what is another 4,000 going to do? I mean, that's kind of my point here, where Jon takes a ton of risks to save a bunch of people that are sick, are not really able to fight, where he could compromise a lot of his own men as well. And this mission, we don't even know if it would have worked anyway. Releasing Val, who was someone that was a very high prisoner of Stannis, which would have made Jon very much an enemy of Stannis, and we might see Jon and Stannis still have one more interaction before this is done. It's really interesting the way that things are going to play out, and to me, I think Jon just did a very poor job of managing the Night's Watch and putting the Night's Watch interests first before his own. Because I know he tries to do that by, you know, sending his friends away, trying to be a leader, a lord, all that stuff. But he does, in my opinion, a very bad job of it. And it's something that's interesting to read from Jon, because Jon is kind of a failed ruler, in my opinion. And maybe if he gets a chance to rule again, we'll see how he changes, some of the ways that he goes about ruling. But this was just kind of a video to kind of talk about, was Bowen Marsh wrong, and kind of reviewing Jon's decision-making within A Dance with Dragons, because for me, it is a bit confusing when you look at Jon's logic on certain things, even though I do understand where he's coming from. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think Bowen Marsh was right? Do you think Jon was right? Do you think morally in between that they are both kind of right, but Jon wasn't really willing to listen or something like that? But yeah, let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.
If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.